Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning in to another intense siege of Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. The Mongols are back, and their fury is about to be unleashed on these Eastern European defenders. So I really hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, let's take a look at these army comps. The first Mongol army on the battlefield today is commanded by myself, and I've gone very, very light in the infantry department, kind of drawing from the Mongols' strength in that heavy shock cavalry. But I have brought some siege swordsmen to the battlefield. I've got 4 units of them, so they're heavy melee infantry, 14th century, tier 2. So they don't really have that good of armor-piercing damage, but they've got a decent amount of armor, and they've also got some good missile block as well, so hopefully they won't be shredded by the enemy archers as they try to move closer to the walls. But the main meat of my army here is this heavy lancer cavalry here. Nice, good shock cavalry. Hopefully we'll be able to get some good charges inside the settlement, but I've got 6 units of them in total. And I've also got 2 of these rocket carts. For those of you guys that watched my last land battle as the Mongols with those rocket carts, I decided that we should bring them again in this battle. So I've got 2 of them, 1 on either flank. Over here in the trees, I've got some mercenary cavalry, some Russian princely cavalry. These guys drawn right from probably the Kievan Rus and similar Tsardoms in the area. And they're melee cavalry, so they're not going to have as good of a charge, but they're going to be pretty solid once they get into the thick of it. And then I've got 4 units of heavy horse archers, and look how shiny this guy is. My goodness. Very, very nice. This guy, too, at the back here, he's got like that little sun in the center. Really nice modeling on the Mongols. And last but not least, way over here, I've got my general's bodyguard, the general's Talaya, or Tayaya. Not sure how you pronounce that, unfortunately. But I don't know exactly which one would be the general. Yeah, not too sure. And in fact, it's almost a space where the general should be, so he might be... Oh, there he is. He's actually just behind the lines. He's the only one with a sword. That's the one I was looking for. But that is it for my Mongol army, so let's go ahead and take a look at my 2 allies. The second Mongol army on the battlefield today, and also deployed to my right, is the Hunted, and he's gone with a much more balanced build than I have, about 50-50 to the infantry and cavalry, but he's also brought 4 units, just like myself, of these solid siege swordsmen. I think they are the most cost-effective swordsmen for the Mongols, and it's pretty fitting in a siege battle to bring siege swordsmen. But he also has 2 units of Turkic archers, so interesting that he's bringing some infantry archers instead of all mounted bows like I have. But that being said, he also has 4 units of the heavy horse archers as well. So hopefully they will be useful running and picking apart the enemy inside the settlement. And for his main meat cavalry, he has 3 units of the heavy lancers. He's got his general's bodyguard here. And whereabouts is he? Way down here. So I think he has the general's bodyguard of the high period. And the last cavalry he does have, he has 2 units, 1 on either flank of this Mirza cavalry, which I don't know historically what the Mirza cavalry were, or, you know, what region they came from, but I think in 1212 they're just 1 step below the Russian princely cavalry, so not as solid, but still solid melee cavalry in general. So that is it for the Hunted's force, so let's go ahead and take a look at the last ally. The final Mongol army on the battlefield today is commanded by Azrian Fox, and he's also gone with a very balanced build, much like the Hunted has, with a good mix of infantry and cavalry. He has 4 units of heavy horse archers of the late period, and he also has his general with 2 Mongol lancers way at the back here. General being this one right here. He's got the late period general's bodyguard. And yeah, he's got 5 heavy lancers to the high period total. He's got 2 here. And then, I don't want to show you guys the city just yet, but way over here in the trees, he's got 3 that are hidden. So we'll see if there's some sally outs by the defenders, then he's got some heavy lancers kind of covering the back section of the city. He also has 2 rocket carts as well as the Hunted did. I'm not sure if I said that or not, but each of the Mongol armies brought 2 rocket carts. And also for his infantry, bringing 5 units of siege swordsmen and 3 units of Turkic archers. So a little bit more infantry than the hunted has brought, but still pretty balanced overall. And looks like they're just getting into position, so while they're doing that, let's take a look at the defending forces. The 2 defending armies on the battlefield today are the Tsardom of Bulgaria, commanded by Nash, and the Duchy of Lesser Poland, commanded by Lance 101. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at both their armies at the same time, because they are both got this epic defense set up, but a lot of them are kind of mixed in with each other. So let's go ahead and see what they've brought. Looks like the Bulgarians here have some Despo spearmen mixed in with some hooked pikemen. So really solid defense there. And then he's actually got a second line as well of the spearmen and pikemen. And I really love the 1212's shields models. They've really hit it out of the park with the detail on these shields. Like, just look at that. You can zoom right in and you can see that there's a guy on this horse actually trampling someone else. Really, really awesome. So yeah, two lines of the spearman pikeman mix, and then we've also got a axeman unit that doubles as a war dog unit. They've all got pooches for the battle, and up on the walls we've got the trying to get nice and close for you guys, but don't want to see inside them. We've got a couple units of the Bulgarian archers of the late period, and right in behind that we've got the Lithuanian archers for the Duchy of Lesser Poland. And over here we have much of the same defensive units. We've got the hooked pikemen with Despo spearmen. And I believe over here we've got some of the voivodes from Bulgaria. Solid 15th century heavy melee infantry. We've got some more over there as well. And it looks like more spears. And then I think this is mostly Poland's units. So we've got some Pavi spearmen of the late period mixed in with Levy pikemen. Got a lot more Levy pikemen here, a lot more spears. And then both the generals are back here hugging this citadel, with Lance's general being, I believe, Old Golden Helm here. There he is. Basically staring right at the wall. And then for the Bulgarian general, I'm really going to struggle to find him. I think that would be him there, with the little helm with the cross on it. So that is his general. And then for the main infantry for Poland, they have 4 units of the dismounted junior knights. These guys just looking absolutely amazing. Like little medieval tanks. Really, really cool. But that is it for these Eastern defenders. So can these 2 defenders hold out against the Mongol onslaught? We will certainly find out. Alright guys, and with that volley, the battle has begun. It is a little bit framey up here because the defenders have really tightly packed a lot of their units, so I will be using slow motion as much as possible, but it actually isn't really that long of a battle. It felt much longer while we were actually playing, but we've only got 26 minutes left on the timer. But you know that Mongol rage, they're just going to blitz in there, and if they get it done, they get it done, and if they don't, then the Eastern Europeans can survive for a little while longer. Oh man, but look, even some of the doggos are dead. Oh, that's sad. The enemy city does smolder, though. So yeah, if we just zoom out and take a look at what's going on here, the defenders have just voted to hold the center, which I think is a smart option, especially when you're going up against the Mongols, because in here there's way too much room for our cavalry to just get in behind the enemy lines and cause a lot of trouble. But yeah, now these poor units of siege swordsmen here are going to have to move right past the enemy, and they're going to be soaking up a lot of the Bulgarian archer fire. I wanted to walk them so that they could stay kind of in a little bit of a shield wall. I think I do have them in shield wall, but unfortunately their flank is exposed. Luckily it is the flank that the shield is on, but even still. Just love the sounds of the marching through the city as the siege swordsmen move forwards. You can see the burning buildings as well, where the hunted on my right-hand side is moving forwards his soldiers, and I believe he's also just peppering the town center. Well, we all are basically peppering the town center with our rocket carts. You can see Azerian Foxes. This is a little bit farther behind, but I've got one right here that's just blasting this formation here, trying to get as many kills as possible. And I've also got another one over on this side, which is just hitting this section. And the Hunted over here, he shot some of his, I don't know what they're called, like fireworks or rockets? I guess they're rockets, but anyways, he just fired a bunch of them into this section of the wall, or into this section of the city. Reason being because he wants to actually cause a lot of settlement damage, because it will really reduce the morale, melee attack, and melee defense of these defenders. And they've got a lot of pikemen and a lot of spears. This is going to be really challenging for the Mongols. Just ignore this balance of power completely. This is going to be a tough one to fight. More fire coming through here as well. Unfortunately, most of them did miss, but yeah, we got some good shots there on the Pavi Spearmen. A couple of them exploding. They really destroy the formation of these units. But I think I was aiming for the backs of these Levy pikemen here, trying to soften up this defense. And actually, this is burning as well. And if you guys check out what's going on here, the king is literally parked right up against this fiery citadel. So I could see what Lance and Nash were doing. They were trying to protect their generals from the rocket fire, and we don't have anyone deployed to their rear. So basically, they were covered by this entire building. But unfortunately, in Attila, once these buildings actually do come down, they will cause damage to the surrounding units. And in this case, the king is the I'm not sure if he's the king, but this general is literally the closest. Oh, and there we go. The Polish general within the first few minutes was actually slaughtered under the weight of his own citadel. And just look at it burn. This is definitely the Mongol way. Love how the statue is not burning, though, as well. Luckily, Nash, his general, was farther behind, so his general is still alive and well. But now the Polish are going to have even more of a morale debuff, not even counting the settlement damage, which is actually up to 25%. Azerian Fox firing from this direction. You can see not getting too many good shots because he's having to fire over a large section of the wall. But he is getting some good hits into the Axemen here, and some of them do hit the Despo Spearmen and the Hooked Pikemen. Here we go, another huge hit. Oh my goodness, really disrupting that formation, but the Bulgarians are quick to just jump right back into formation. Look how much they're covered in blood. How terrifying would that be for rockets to just come down and you just see people next to you just exploding? Like, that would be so terrifying. But yes, we've got the archers over here, the Lithuanian archers. I wanted to jump into them to show you guys what they're firing at, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get over there. Maybe, come on. Kind of. We just zoom out, you can see that Azerian Fox is moving some of his horse archers close by, and he's also got some siege swordsmen parked right underneath this wall. And it looks like the Lithuanian archers are beginning to fire down onto them. But luckily they are in shield wall, so they shouldn't take too much damage. But oh my goodness, look at all of the damage so far from these archers. The Turkic archers over here taking a pounding. Just absolutely slaughtered by the Lithuanian archers of Poland. But yes, I believe this is my rocket cart. I'm bringing forwards my rocket cart. I want them to try and fire on this cart, because I'm hoping that they don't realize that it's out of ammunition, and they'll be wasting a lot of valuable volleys on this piece of artillery for no reason whatsoever. And for those of you guys that watch my really early 12-12 battles, I love to use catapults especially to push into formations like this, because the catapults will actually disrupt the formation and allow my units to kind of get in and around the pikes and spears. But I'm not sure. I'm going to try it with the rocket carts, but I'm not exactly sure how effective it's going to be. And the Hunted getting some really nice shots on these very packed Polish units. See, that's the one downside to just guarding the town center like this, is that you squeeze basically 5,000 men, 5,700 men to be precise, into a very small opening. And it's just really there's nowhere to move, basically. Especially, it looks like the early period knights. I believe I forgot to let you guys know that Lance did bring some cavalry in the army composition, but he's had to withdraw them because the hunted was coming down this area here, and now these knights are trapped. They basically don't have anywhere to go. But my siege swordsmen finally made it here. You can see that they did take some casualties, but they are silver chevrons, so they've got some decent morale. Let's go ahead and zoom into this fight here, so you guys can see the epic struggle against the Bulgarian spear wall. Oh, yep. Some more of the rockets coming down. You can hear them. And I believe that's some horse archers as well. We got the heavy horse archers close by. We're trying to focus the pikemen that are just right behind the lines here. No use firing at these spears, these Despo spears. If we turn on the HUD for you guys to see the stats, you can see they're at an 85 missile block right now. So really, we're just going to be throwing ammunition away, firing at them. So we're trying to go for the hooked pikemen because their missile block is 15. It's basically non-existent. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on in other areas of the battle. Here comes my brave rocket carts. I think they did get 1 or 2 volleys off on it because it's a little bit weaker, but then they realized what was going on. And I just, oh my goodness, point blank, just firing right over the heads of my rocket carts. And it looks like Nash pushing forwards his Despo spearmen to block them from getting closer. So actually coming out of formation a bit, which is great. Azrian, I wish he had moved up his siege swordsman here to actually fight them in melee. Oh, perfect. He's actually read my mind there, charging in, because this unit is no longer protected by the hooked pikemen. And yeah, Nash smartly withdrawing them behind his lines. There we go. Oh my goodness. And actually some good hits over here as well, hitting the junior knights. So yeah, it is just mayhem up here. We've got some more pikemen that are trying to be very sneaky, hiding behind this burnt building here. We can't cause any more damage to this building, so that's a good, safe spot. But if the hunted is still... if he still has ammunition, then it's going to not be too safe. Yeah, he's got 1 rocket cart that could fire into those levy pikemen. Also, as well, they don't have any missile block at all, I believe. Yeah, missile block chance is 1. So the levy pikemen are even worse off than the hooked pikemen of Bulgaria. Another volley coming in. I'm trying to stay up a little ways so that you guys could see these volleys coming down. It's absolutely incredible. Very, very awesome to play as the Mongols. I'm surprised that so many people don't play them. Like, I rarely see them except on my channel. But they've got such a colorful history and a really good roster. Like, I know they're mostly cavalry focused, but they've got some pretty solid horse archers. They got some solid units of infantry, like the siege swordsmen, and I think they have dismounted Jazina as well. Yes, we're looking pretty good over here. The hunted burning some more of the settlement at this point, and he's also got his siege swordsmen fighting the Puvy spearmen of the late period and the levy pikemen. But yeah, the Turkic archers, they're just outclassed by the defenders. Just no chance. Look, they've got 26 kills, which I mean isn't bad for a tier 1 unit, but they just have the superior position, unfortunately. Lithuanian archers just, yeah, able to fire right down. Oh no, some friendly fire there too, hitting the siege swordsman. Only killing 1 of them though, which is good. And here we go, it looks like we're bringing some heavy horse archers up to try and pick these pikemen apart. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at the damage that's been caused on these late period pikemen. 107 left, so that means they've taken about 50 casualties, but they were already wavering. Granted, that is also due to the amount of artillery fire that they're just soaking up right now. Let's see Azrian coming in over here as well. I think this was one of his last volleys. Oh, yes. Yeah, some huge hits there into the junior knights, a couple into this formation. Oh, yes. Beautiful shot there. Very, very well done. So yeah, my rocket carts basically didn't do too well, but you can see how they have like a little area around them where the unit was kind of pushed out of position. Same thing over here, too. But it looks like Nash might have pulled back his line just a little bit. And looks like the Lithuanian archers are withdrawing from this area just in case it does get overrun. And yeah, Azrian's going to do a tactical withdrawal there. This guy fighting in melee against the spearman. Oh no! Yep, taken down. Taken down. And it looks like we got the axemen involved in melee as well. A couple of Mongolian units just dying there. Oh yeah, these axemen are not going to do well against enemy archer fire. And again, huge hits. Huge hits by the rocket carts. Azrian Fox was able to hold on to a lot more of his ammunition because I think he had to readjust them partway through the battle. But yeah, now the settlement is looking pretty worse for wear. 33%, so -6 to morale, defense, and attack. And look at this over here. We've got Lance 101. He's got 3 lines of Pavi Spearmen holding with the Levy Pikemen right in between, and also a unit of Voivodes from Bulgaria as well. And the Hunted, he's playing it smart. He's not pushing in too many units. He's got the 1 unit of Siege Swordsmen. He doesn't want to block all of these units because the heavy horse archers are just focusing them down as best as they can. I think a lot of us were using heavy shot as well. Yeah, it's getting a little framey. As the bodies start to pile up, guys, I'll start to use a bit more slow motion. In fact, I guess we could use a little slow motion now. Why not? Little slow motion never hurt anybody. We could just really enjoy the gravity of this battle. So the Eastern European defenders, they need to hold here. They realize that if the Mongols break into this town center and the army is defeated, that pretty much everybody will be slaughtered. Usually the Mongols, they picked and chose, choose is not a word, but they picked and chose which cities to be diplomatic with. They would give them a chance to surrender and just become part of the Mongol Empire, or they could choose to not surrender and to fight. And if the city was foolish enough not to surrender, or in some cases they even killed the Mongolian envoys, which was basically spitting in the face of Genghis Khan himself by doing that. Once the Mongols were sieging a settlement, there was no mercy to come from the victory in the siege battle. Once the city was taken over, pretty much all the inhabitants were basically destroyed. The city was usually just razed to the ground, and I mean, a couple of choice warriors that Genghis Khan himself may have noted during the battle would have been pulled into the ranks, but you know, even 10, 20,000 soldiers that may have still been alive, they just would have all been put to the sword. Which is definitely gruesome, but it was the Mongol way, and it was very effective with instilling fear in their conquered vassals. They just would not ever raise a fist to the Mongols again. But it looks like we got some more archers moving forwards as well. So it looks like they're going to try and focus down these siege swordsmen at point-blank range, which is pretty smart, but Azrian's also being very tactical with this. He knows that it's an absolute waste just throwing his men against the hooked pikemen and the Despo spearmen. It's going to be a tough nut to crack, and unfortunately, I mean, the shock cavalry, they probably wouldn't even be that effective either because of the presence of the hooked pikemen, which would just be able to pick apart our cavalry. But I'm focusing most of my cavalry over on this side. I think my infantry is over here, but I'm really not making any headway whatsoever there. And yeah, just look at this volley over here coming down onto my cavalry. We're so tightly packed, and that, I think I realized that and tried to get some of my cavalry out of there. I've also got my Russian princely cavalry here, which I'm going to do an epic charge into these spears. I think I tell the Hunted to move back his siege swordsman, and we're just going to line up and try and get a couple cycle charges into these spears. And I know you guys are probably saying, well, why are you going to charge horsemen into spears? It's because this is all we have, basically. It's siege swordsmen or it's the princely cavalry. And the siege swordsmen are very valuable, so I figured, you know, let's see how well the melee cavalry can do breaking up this spear formation here. And I have 3 units, and I'm basically just going to cycle them in one at a time. But yeah, you can see that some of the princely cavalry is going to get caught behind enemy lines and just torn down by the Pavi spearmen. Yeah. But as I move one unit out, the next one comes right in, and you can see that the spears were actually pulling to pursue there. And yeah, a couple of them being thrown down underneath the princely cavalry as they charge back up. And how is it looking here? So, I mean, they took some casualties, but tier 3 Pavi spearmen, I mean, man, they're just like, it's basically just like water washing over rock. The cycle charges from the Russian princely cavalry not doing as much damage as I would like, and then I run the risk of, because I'm pulling out my cavalry like this, that they're starting to take damage for no reason. You can see this one's lost 11 men, this one's lost 8, and this one has already lost 5, and will probably have lost 5 more by the time we get out of there. But again, we're just trying to make the defenders put as many troops over here, and then we're really focusing a lot of our infantry over on this side. And looks like we've got some of the hooked pikemen being withdrawn over here, and they're actually going to be sent over to that rear choke point. Let's go ahead and put this back onto play here. I think there's only so much talking you guys would like to hear. Nothing better than the good old battle sounds. But the Bulgarians do hold, along with their pikemen. I think they have 2 rows of spears here as well. Interesting in the center. This is exactly what I wanted to illustrate for you guys, though. So they're in a spear wall, right? Both of these units are in a long spear wall. But look at this area around the rocket cart, where we can get units up there, and it kind of has disrupted their formation. So in catapults, it's even better because they're a lot longer. So you can push them further into the formation and sometimes get it even close to behind the formation, and then your units will be following through there, and then we'll be able to flank around the spears. So, I mean, it might be a little bit exploity, if I'm honest, but it's just a kind of a cool mechanic that the game has in place, where they've got this little area of effect around the rocket cart where the units can't really deploy. And that way they can't really get a really solid shield wall. But even still, it doesn't really seem to be helping us that much. The siege swordsmen are being easily held back by the spears. We've also got some voivodes here and the hooked pikemen. You can see my siege swordsmen are breaking, and they break a lot here, and then I just keep sending them right back into combat. But Adrian Fox, he's actually got some of his heavy horse archers here, and I believe the hunted might have a couple here as well. And we're just trying to fire up and over the walls at this point. But 10 minutes left in this battle. The balance of power is still very much in our favor, but if you look at the man count, we barely have more men than the defenders. And keep in mind that we have cavalry, and they have a lot of pikemen, a lot of spears, a lot of swords. But we are holding. We are holding. Over here, it's just a slaughter, though. Azrian, I think, definitely has the hardest choke point. A lot of Nash's units over here holding. They're not going to allow the Mongols in here just yet. But take a look at the Mongol cavalry there, right underneath, just marching forwards as the fight goes on up here. Awesome. It's the little things in 12-12. Yeah, you can see the heavy horse archers are really having some issues there. Starting to get quite depleted. The Lithuanian archers and the Bulgarian archers just racking up kills. Look at this archer unit at a cool 300. Wow. And a lot of Lance's troops are still being held back here. You can see the Voivodes here. We've got 2 units, and we've got the Junior Knights, 3 units that haven't even seen combat. We've got a Pavi Spearman unit that hasn't seen combat. And the Hunted now, he is charging his Siege Swordsman back into melee. But yeah, definitely didn't really pay off. You can see a lot of Russian princely cavalry lying in this heap of bodies. And yeah, the hooked pikemen really helping out the Bulgarian infantry. And I think actually they broke just like that with 8 minutes left in the battle. And we also have some cavalry over here. I believe that the Hunted was focusing on them, or Azrian was focusing on them with their heavy horse archers. And we had a unit of knights over here of the early period. Looked like they're going to go for some of the siege swordsmen, and I did bring up my Russian princely cavalry. And then I thought he wasn't going to charge in, so I pulled them back, and then he goes ahead and charges in. Such a snake. That definitely got me there. But I go ahead and redeploy my princely cavalry in, and we're able to surround this cavalry and destroy it. It doesn't really have too much morale left because of the general being dead. Oh, look at this guy. He's just cheering. Well done. Come on, take down some of those Polish cavalry units. Kill them. Come on, take them down. Oh, there we go. Just as the heavy lancers move in. Well done. But yeah, this is about the part where it gets pretty framey, so I'm going to go ahead and put this back on slow motion. The dead bodies that are piling up here are really causing the frames to drop. But yeah, right here with this unit of princely cavalry, I'm trying to sneak through this flank, and it was almost successful, but we've got some voivodes that have moved in to reinforce this section, and the princely cavalry have broken once again. Over here, still slogging it out. We're barely making progress here. I think it's still at the exact same spot as it was before. And my siege swordsmen, I mean, they're shaken. They're exhausted. The Rus infantry, confident, but the spears alone aren't going to be able to best all of this infantry. And I'm saving my 4 units of heavy lancers of the high period. I've got them kind of as the ace in my back pocket, waiting to see if there are going to be any openings here. But Azrian, poor Azrian, still slogging away against that first line. And he's pretty much committed all of his forces at this point. He's got 1 unit of swords, he's got the general, and a heavy lancer unit. And I believe some of these are Azrians and some are the Hunteds. The Hunted over here, he's got his cavalry still left, but all of his infantry is engaged except for the 1 Rus infantry spear unit here. But yeah, this was really pivotal here. You could see the Hunted, he charged with 3 units of heavy lancers, and he took a lot of casualties, because I believe all 3 units were full units, and this one just got annihilated. But he's actually breaking the spears that soaked up the charge. I think they were just a little bit too far in front of the hooked pikemen, and there we go. You can see that the spears have broken. There are 3 units of voivodes, though, ready to hold this choke point, so it's not like we're getting in here anytime soon. Let's go ahead and see what's going on over here. So we do have the junior knights moving up just a bit. Looks like one of them is going to actually be committed into the fight. The hooked pikemen over here are wavering, which is good for Azrian. If you can get rid of the pikemen, then the archers and the spears shouldn't really be that big of a problem. And most of the archers have used up all of their ammunition now, so we can feel free to move up our forces. You can see, like, the Hunted, he's got his cavalry here, and he doesn't really have to worry about the archers focusing them down. But there we go, look at this, the Hunted actually sneaking a few of them through here, but unfortunately it's only like 4 of them. And the unit just breaks right before it's able to charge into the spearmen that are in reserve. 5 minutes left in this battle, and we've got 500 men less than the defenders now, so it is not looking good. Look at the numbers dropping, too. Dropping like a rock, my goodness. Yeah, over here I'm also desperately trying to push through on this flank, but luckily the Knights of the early period from Poland blocked that exit, or that entrance, and now my heavy lancers are breaking. Luckily, they're actually breaking inside the settlement, though, which was really good. So they didn't break back to whence they came, but yeah, just this river of men that are breaking here was really frustrating. These siege swordsmen, they would just not stay in combat for longer than a minute. It was pretty brutal. And there we go. Now my cavalry is actually breaking into the backs of these units over here. But because the unit's broken, I don't think it's causing any morale penalties. But Azrian also kind of got a little chain route going on, a little concerning. A lot of his units starting to waver. But over here, again, we've got, I believe, the Hunted's heavy lancers that are breaking inside the settlement here. And they're desperate. They're desperate to hold this flank. They're sending their archers in over on this side. We've got some spears moving over to this flank because we're pushing really hard on the far flank as well. But yeah, Azrian is just not getting in here. After all of this work, all these lives lost, and still he isn't getting through. Let's see what else is going on over here. Think those knights have finally broken? Yes, the early period knights are gone. And the hooked pikemen over here are starting to waver, which is really, really good. They don't really have anything else defending here except for the pikemen. I mean, they do have the swords and the archers, but once the pikemen are gone, we should be able to sneak some cav around. And there we go. Yes, my cavalry that was routing inside the settlement actually did return. Even though it's a very depleted unit, I did get a little bit of a charge on those archers, but unfortunately they did break. My bad. English is not my forte. Yeah, Azrian, he's pretty much committing his last unit of cavalry over here. So this side, we're not getting in this side, but we are getting in this side. The Hunted sneaking his heavy lancers through the gap. Luckily, some Pavi spearmen stopped that charge, although they're losing decisively, it says, to the Mongol lancers. So they must have soaked up a pretty heavy charge there. But now the floodgates are open. We're desperately trying to get our men inside the settlement here. Dismounted junior knights are also shaken because of the general being dead. But looking at the numbers, we're almost 1,000 underneath now. I believe we're at about, what, 600? 700? But yes, this one is breaking in the center here. We've got more of the Mongol cavalry just flooding in, and this is a pivotal moment here. Now that this unit is broken, the cavalry can just move inside the city without really being hindered at all. We've got more of the archers that are just breaking under the pressure of the Hunt's Mongol lancers. He also has his siege swordsmen coming in to keep this gap open. We need this gap to stay open as long as possible. Meanwhile, over here, I've committed my heavy lancers into this section over here. And finally, one of the spears is starting to break. But is it going to be enough? We've got 2 units that are starting to break now. This is huge. It is anybody's game at this point. Anybody's game. Hold, brave Eastern defenders. There we go. Looks like the spears have broken. And yes, we've actually got a charge into the backs of these units here. The Hunted, oh my goodness, huge charge. Knocking a lot of those spearmen down right underfoot. Unfortunately, a lot of them are being cut down, but let's zoom out and see what that has done. Yes, so the hooked pikemen shattered, the spears shattered, the other 2 are wavering. Just look at this river of Bulgarians that have broken. The archers have now broken. And now we have a way inside the settlement. And unfortunately, it looks like these 2 units of junior knights were going after Azrian siege swordsmen that had broken. But the rest are just quickly redeploying over to this side. We've got 1 minute left in this battle, but now it really turns against the Eastern European defenders because they are just getting hit hard by the Mongol cavalry. We're basically even in numbers, 981 to 990. But yeah, these Pavi spearmen, they're just terrified. The Mongols just charging into the town center like this, hitting really hard into the spears. They weren't even in a suitable shield wall, and with the general being dead and also these units that are kind of getting in behind, their morale is just going to drop really quickly. And there we go. So they have broken. They're going to try and flee this place. as the Mongol cavalry just continues its charge. We've got some of the archers that are actually trying to get an angle to fire. They pulled back to get a couple of shots off on the Mongol cavalry. Yeah, some of them meeting their mark, but there's just too much Mongol cavalry inside the city center at this point. These brave archers over here from Bulgaria just holding strong against all these units. But now my cavalry has gotten into the settlement, and I'm hitting this unit of Despot spearmen that was formed up. Wasn't even in a spear wall, unfortunately. And I think that is the battle. So very, very close. We just got in there at the last second. And there we go. Yep, most of them starting to break. And I think at this point, the two junior knights do turn around. But at this point, you know, we've got the numbers. All we need is a quick, decisive charge into those junior knights. And that will see them off. And I think with them realizing that the city is lost, they're just going to go ahead and try and head for the hills. Get out of there. Flee from the Mongols. And there we go, guys. A Pyrrhic victory. So I think we ended up with just less than 900 men remaining. And, of course, the Eastern Europeans completely wiped out. Let's take a look at the results here. Alright, so starting with my force, pretty mixed bag as far as the kills go. The Russian Princely Cavalry, this one doing pretty solid, 146 kills. And then these units of Lancers, I think these were the end game Lancers that got into the settlement and just ran down the European defenders. And 150 together with my rocket carts. The Hunted doing some good work with the Rus Spearmen there, but definitely heavy lifting with his heavy Lancers. Almost all of them over 100 kills, and this one 226. And look at this, 166 and 176 from those rocket carts. So he had a really good position on them. And then Azrian Fox, his general, getting almost 300 kills. One of the Siege Swordsman units, 307. So actually, his Siege Swordsman did pretty well. So even though they weren't able to break into the city, break those defenses, they still managed to rack up a lot of kills. Unfortunately, his cavalry didn't do so well, although the heavy horse archers did get kills. And also him, really good position. So my allies did much better than I did with the rocket carts. Looking at Nash's kills, Despot Spearman here, 121, which is solid, but again, heavy lifting by these pikemen, 430, 432, 272, and then look at these archers, 309, 376, 421, and 219. So I think 432 is the highest amount of kills we've seen so far. And yeah, it looks like that is the highest amount of kills. So Lance, unfortunately, not really getting many kills with his Levy pikemen. They just kind of got shredded. This one, I think, was holding at the back, so it did get a few kills. But the Pavy Spearman, not so much on the kill department either. His Junior Knights, 165 and 100 is really solid, but definitely mopping up with those Lithuanian archers, 355, 280, and 150. So 355. Yeah, so just bested by a couple of the Bulgarian archers. But that is it for this battle, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And also, if you want to get in on any of these battles, be sure to join my Discord. I'm not so active on Steam anymore, but I'm very active on my Discord. And whenever I want to get a battle going, I usually post in there about a couple hours beforehand. So be sure to join that if you're interested in getting in on some of the action. But again, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.